Good evening and welcome to the Modise Network. Social entrepreneur and education activist Dr. Luiz Fundrein joins the network to discuss innovative ways to improve the quality of education in South Africa. Author and campaigner against government and weapons industry corruption, Andrew Feinstein exposes the extent of the wars and damage to countries across the globe. I'm Tim Modise, and thank you for joining me this evening. And please join the network this evening with your comments or questions on the hashtag the Modise Network. An initiative started to enhance the leadership abilities of school principals and improving the learning environment has been recognized as one of the most innovative social programs in the world. Partners for Possibility was founded by the organization Symphonia in 2010 and received the recognition from NGO Advisor, an organization based in Geneva, Switzerland. The founder of the organization is Dr. Luiz Fundrein, and she joins us to tell us more about the work they have been doing over the past 8 years. And Dr. Luiz, always a pleasure to have a chat with you. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here.
And compliments, congratulations to you, your organization, Symphonia, your project Partners for Possibility. How do you feel about this award?
Tim, it's amazing. It's a bit like winning the Oscars for education. We've been working for 8 years. For 8 years, we've been arguing a new innovative idea and testing it and piloting it to now be acknowledged by the Qatar Foundation for the impact and the innovation of the project is just phenomenal.
Well, let's look at how the whole program works and the whole point that you're recognized and respected, acknowledged for innovation. How innovative is your program?
So we have a massive issue in education, as we know. 25,000 government schools in total. 5,000 of them are working very well. 20,000 are not working so well. And we've been doing many things over the last 20 years, but we've not been able to see significant outcomes in improvement in education outcomes. So we have looked at this issue from a very different perspective to many people in the past and said, what can we learn from the 5,000 schools that are doing so well, and how can we apply that to the 20,000? And then how can we do that in a way that's frugal, that taps into what's available locally rather than having to fly in expensive consultants to areas where there's a need. So for example, we're just launching in Pofadder. That's very exciting for me. And in Pofadder, this work will be done locally with the 9 school principals in the community, and then business leaders from that community and a local person who has been living in the Pofadder community her whole life. And there will be no consultants flying to Pofadder to go and do the work, and that we know there will be big impact as a result of this, the model now designed for scale.
From your experience and observations, what is behind the inconsistencies that you've come across? I mean, where you intervene, the schools improve in terms of their output and performance, right? But there are other schools that are left behind, and I'm sure where you sit now, you are thinking you could be doing more. But what is behind the inconsistencies anyway?
So there are 3 differences between the 5,000 schools and the 20,000 schools. In the 5,000 schools that are mostly benefiting from decades of apartheid, and as a white person, I feel very unhappy when I say that, but that's the reality, is that those 5,000 schools have benefited from apartheid, and therefore the organizational ecosystem around those schools are healthy. So there are 3 things that are present in most of the 5,000 schools, and those 3 things are absent in the other 20,000. The first thing is a school principal who has been equipped for his or her task through many years of privilege. The second thing is that in the 5,000 schools we have a strong support network for those schools. We have people who bring HR and IT and finance skills into those schools so that the principal and his team can focus on learning. And then the third thing is in the 5,000 schools we have strong teachers who've been well taught. and well trained. So in the 20,000 schools, we typically have school principals who have not been equipped for their task. They were a teacher until very recently, promoted into the role of the principal, have very little understanding of HR, IT, finance, management, leadership, governance, how to run a functioning organization. We, in schools in our poorer township communities, we typically don't have the same number of people who can provide HR and IT and finance and legal skills. So on our school governing bodies, we would have an unemployed mother, a security guard and a cleaner, rather than an HR director and a financial director and a legal advisor. And then the third thing is in the 5,000 schools, we know our history. We know that many of the teachers in our 5,000 schools were experienced Bantu education themselves. So they were not trained as well as these other 5,000 schools. So we can't continue to be in this situation. It's not fair on the 12 million children that we have in the system at the moment. We have to find a way to improve those 20,000 schools and address the organizational effectiveness of those 20,000 schools, rather than just look at what happens in the classroom and the curriculum and whether the curriculum gets covered. Because we know there's a direct correlation between organizational effectiveness and functionality and what happens in the classroom.
Now, the question would be then, on the basis of the observations you've made, that why, after 24 years, there we have the information, the knowledge we need to fix the education or the schooling system, why then is the public sector or the government not doing anything to implement some of the ideas that you've just mentioned?
So I wish I had the answer to that. I know one of the reasons why they're not doing it is because they simply don't have the budget.
Yeah.
So I'm spending a lot of time talking to education officials about budget for this work. They have budget for other work, but they don't have budget for this work. And so one of the reasons why we're absolutely committed to work with government. We're not in competition with government or criticizing them. We're acknowledging the challenges. We're acknowledging the where we are. We just feel that instead of doing what's been done in the past, sending principals off to training courses or asking them to sit in university lectures every Saturday, what we have to offer is more innovative. We bring business leaders with knowledge and skills and experience into these schools to share their knowledge.
Well, and I'm sure, we need to compliment you for that. A lot of people and communities are happy about the work that you are doing. But the unions, are you working with them? Have you taken this idea to them to say, let's work as partners to make sure that more schools benefit from this knowledge and the approach that you've adopted?
So we have 815 school principals involved already. Many of them are members of the union. So we have NAPTOSA principals, we have SATU principals, and without exception, those principals are very keen for their respective unions to get more involved. I've just talking to you now made me realize we have to make another effort in getting closer to the SATU and NAPTOSA leadership because we can do more when we work together.
And what do you depend on to make this program successful? It's 825 teachers that you're mentioning, but the backlog is 20,000 schools that we're talking about here. So it's a good start, but we could do more, isn't it? So what do you need?
We should do a lot. We should do a lot more. So what we need is firstly, we need business leaders who are willing to step out of their offices and get involved in a school in a local community. They don't have to do that through Partners for Possibility. We provide a particular structure, but everybody has something that they can offer. And I was privileged enough to be at the Mandela lecture earlier this week, and President Obama said that. He said what we need, the way we're going to fix our country is not by people sitting in their offices and complaining and criticizing. The way we're going to fix our country is for people leave those corporate offices, go into the community, share what they have. We have so much in business. Share their HR, IT, finance knowledge. I mean, we've got 20,000 schools. Most of them do not have functioning IT labs. And we have thousands of IT professionals in our country. Can't every IT professional just become an IT partner to a principal? Every HR person becomes a go-to person from an HR perspective, and every accountant. My dream is that SAICA says we're not going to give you not going to renew your license if you don't show us that you have done your community services here and paid your wealth tax and become involved in a local school. So we need business leaders who are willing to share their knowledge and skills. We need people to fund this. There's a cost involved in all of this work. There's very, very real hard costs involved in facilitating this process. But it's not hard because we have the money and we have the people. We just need to mobilize them, and hopefully there will be lots of people watching this show and say, oh, well, I want to get involved.
Dr. Luiz Fundrein, we will be continuing our conversation with you in a moment, and of course the passion that you have for education, I'd like to find out more about that, as well as your views regarding quality education. How do we improve it in South Africa? I would like to hear your inputs as well, and participate in the conversation on Twitter, #the Modise Network. We'll be back in a moment.